back now. The Central Bank of Nigeria has approved the participation of licensed Burudo-Shang operators in Nigeria's foreign exchange market, allowing each BDC to purchase up to $150,000 weekly, according to a circular issued by the Apex Bank earlier this week. The directive dated February 10, 2026 was contained in a circular signed by the Director of Trade and Exchange Department, Dr. Musa Nakoji, and addressed to authorized dealer, bank, and the general public. This move is expected to narrow the gap between official parallel market rates, which widens by over 90 Naira for the first time in 3 years. In a circular, the central bank said the move was aimed at improving foreign exchange liquidity in the retail segment of the market and meeting the legitimate needs of end users. Well, let's take it further. And my guest today is an investment analyst and economic development expert, Mr. Ogbonna Okuku. He joins me live from Abuja. Good afternoon, Mr. Okuku. It's good to have you join the program this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for breaking the good news.
Oh, yeah. Well, you take it as a good news. I'd like you to explain to me how this comes to you and what you mean, what you make of it. Because, some having different beliefs around this. Are we back to the old way of running this foreign exchange business? Or what do you think with regards to this circular by the central bank?
Now, what you would notice is back end, there's been some kind of scrutiny that has happened within the central bank and then the BDC license owners. Now, that back end restructuring speaks to the fact that compliance is going to be key, and compliance is going to be important. It's going to be, it's going to be the key driver of this particular new policy. Now, are there things that used to exist that are still existing? Of course they are. But the new thing is the compliance is now key, whereby if at any point in time, whoever you sell this FX to, you cannot account for that person due to your KYC that you have done to your customer. So during your reporting system within 24 hours, the CBN will question you almost immediately, and then you will be penalized. So for me, it's good news because everything about man, the way the human being is structured, man is structured to always disobey when you don't have rules and then set of rules and then people who would administer those rules. Now, central bank being like a regulator in this particular stuff, have designed something that they can control from their desk, they can control from their system, and it's online and it's so transparent that anybody can actually see it. And then these are things that affect our daily lives as a nation. So for me, it comes as good news because if we don't do it this way, I don't think there will be a better way to do it.
So you believe that this would help improve retail FX liquidity, encourage price convergence, and of course, deepening banking system intermediation?
Of course, that's what it is. Because, the gap you see always occur when there is not enough, liquidity to
in the system
to meet the market demands. Now, if these demands are real and they're genuine, so the demands will be transferred, will be seen. So if a dashboard shows that consumer A needs this amount of FX because it's going for a medical checkup somewhere, or there's someone who's in school that needs this FX, it will show on the dashboard. So you can't just purchase FX and then begin to save money in FX like was the usual practice that cost a lot of hurting and then hurting the economy by people who rent seekers who hurt their resources in foreign exchange. So for me, it's actually a good sign.
Moving also, for some time, we know that some of these BDCs have been shut out of this business. And some will tell you that, maybe this is another time for the BDCs to start to make so much money. Do you think this will be in the interest of the BDC operators?
Well, the thing is that you can't do above 1% of the market price. You can't. You're not allowed to do that. So if you're going to sell above that 1%, that means everything is transparent, it's clear. So if you're going to sell above that, that means you have to show why you're doing that, and then you get penalized. The good thing is that there are a lot of you in the business. So taking you out won't mean anything to the central bank because as soon as you are not compliant, so there has to be the hammer will come on you, and if that happens to you, you're going to lose. You're going to be losing. But if your profit margin is well structured, and then you can see that you're making profit from doing genuine business, why would you want to start to inflate price or want to go into something that is shady?
Now, the worry in some quarters is the fact that we are in a pre-election year and there might be too much of spending of foreign exchange in some cases, something that it is the CBN should be out to check all of these excesses if it ever happens. So what do you, are you worried about that? And do you think that if there is so much liquidity in the market, you think it won't also be call for some caution?
So that means, so this is the thing. So I think the central bank thought about that. They put that into consideration when they were doing their planning. And also, so no BDC is allowed to hold any money that's not utilized, over 24 hours. You must return the money back to the central bank or back to the coffers. So if you're returning the money, so at what point would you not have the money to sell to some other client that is not clear? So anything that is happening is going to be seen clearly. And then the central bank, I mean, with their own eagle eye, they are now watching to see where these monies are going to. So yes, I understand it's an pre-election year or in an election year because most of the internal electionary processes within the political parties will happen within this year. So I think they are watching, and then and they also know that these measures would also help curb those anomalies that would have occurred in previous time, because without a KYC being done, without you doing a reporting of who you sold the FX to daily. So I mean, so if you receive money in a week, $150,000 in a week, and then you are reporting daily on who you have sold this money to. So these things are going to be very clear. So if you sell to a particular person or you begin to sell to people that we can't trace what they're using those monies for. And don't also forget, all they can give you that is cash will be 25%. The rest of the money will be in card and transfer. So these things will make it a bit more easier to control how this, the movement of this foreign exchange.
But you would agree with me that in recent times we've seen a bit of stability in the foreign exchange market. It's been trading for, I even think in the official market now it's a bit less than 1,400, and even in the black market maybe something a bit 1,400, 1,410 and all of that. There's been that stability. So what would you say, or in your thoughts, is responsible for this stability that we see in the market in recent times? Many have talked about the fact that we've stopped importing petroleum products as much as we used to do, and that has been helping us to conserve our FX. But as an expert, what do you make of it?
Yeah, outside the fact that we're not importing petroleum products into Nigeria, which has also it's a huge chunk of our FX has gone into that. And then again, you have to also look at the fact that people who are trading, they're a bit more conscious. So everybody's beginning to look inward. So it's not everything that you have to that you can bring in that will be sold, because whether you like it or not, if you bring it in at a particular exchange rate, you find it difficult. It's not going to be competitive, compared to the ones that are produced locally. So that's another thing to look at. Then number three is the fact that those subsidized FX does not exist anymore, because that was what a lot of people used, in previous time to just go get anything they want to bring it in here. But that's not to say that we have been able to solve the entire problem. But for now, we have a transparent system that have also supported us. And then again, let's also forget, there's been a lot of investment, from the foreign direct investment in the portfolio, portfolio investment in the capital market. So that has also helped a lot to bring in a lot of FX into the economy. So that has strengthened, the Naira, and has given us a whole lot But I know we can do better because by the time we begin to strategize on our, raw material supply, and because some of this monies are still going towards, bringing in raw materials to support the industries. So as soon as we're able to solve some of these key issues when it comes to raw material supply indices or structure rather, it will help us a lot, and then we'll get better at it.
So clearly, this is not a policy reversal. Then it is not a policy reversal.
It's a policy tightening or a policy restructuring.
Great.
To make it a bit more robust, to make it more let me say it in layman's language.
Go ahead, please.
Remove monkey hand out of the entire FX system, so that you don't let people just do whatever they want to do. Because first things first, everybody needs to understand you can only end dollar. You can't print dollar. Dollar is not our currency. So for you to improve your step, bring stability into that market, you need to be able to strengthen a transparency, support compliance, total compliance, and then be rigid when it comes to your policy, and then tightening the system so there are no loopholes. So if you remove loopholes, it makes it a lot easier and transparent, so that people would even be comfortable to do business within your environment.
And now moving forward, now we expect an MPC meeting. I think it should be sometime next week. Oh no! I think in another almost 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. I'm sure that's less than 2 weeks. Maybe in another 1 week, few days. What do you think would shape conversations at that meeting? That's the first for the year 2026. Considering all of the fundamentals that we've seen, inflation is still at about 15.05% to 15%. That's my last check. And of course, GDP growth not looking too bad. Lots of pretty figures projected by the IMF and the World Bank for Nigeria in 2026. So what do you think? And don't forget geopolitical concerns that we also have to take into consideration.
And so for me, looking at, I was a bit worried, thinking that maybe the December, the Christmas period spending would have affected us a bit, so much. But I mean, for me, from what I've seen, actually, the figures didn't go so high. So I expect, easing a bit more. We need to ease a bit, and then that easing will be very minimal to still try and test the water to see if you have some more liquidity to support industries, to support local businesses. That will help, because for the fact that the tightening has actually helped curb inflation. And I know a lot of people always ask, okay, this inflation, is it just figures? At what point do we begin to see results? Of course, prices are dropping. But when it comes to, that direct reflection, where people begin to see, the correlation between the inflationary pressures that are reducing, and then with the prices of goods in the market, it has a lagging period. So those things will take at least 6 months to 1 year before people begin to see, because some of the goods on the shelf has to go up before people go to buy the new set of goods for those prices, those price dynamics to begin to show. But having said that, I think I'm predicting that there'll be a little more of easing, when it comes to the rates will ease a bit, so that we begin to watch the market and see how the market will react, and then probably, I also expect, some pronouncements regarding interventions, because I know that a lot of interventions were stopped when it comes to agro support, and then the other interventions that the central bank used to do. So I am expecting, because I can see the central bank is taking it bit by bit, making sure that there's prudence in every decision that they take, because you can't go back to some of those decisions. So for them to make some, an inroad towards, bringing back some of the interventions that will support industrialization, because if we don't support the DFIs, it will be difficult for us to have, that product from that corridor that will support, the manufacturing manufacturing sector, and like I said earlier, the raw material supply strategy, which has a lot to do with the agri sector, and then some of the the key sectors that will help us become productive.
Now, before I let you go, we've been talking so very much years back. We've been having this conversation, Mr. Okuku, about the handshake between the monetary side and the fiscal side. And analysts like you also have commended this administration, saying it's better than what we used to have before now. Even for the CBN governor, it was at NERC meeting, and some statements he made there that really made so much of sense, trying to caution everyone, economic managers, on how to go about spending and of course all of that. But my question really clearly to you is that handshake between both sides, that's the fiscal and the monetary side, do you think is yielding the desired results?
No, it is yielding the desired results, but it's just that the result is a bit, I'll say minimal. I'm going to be very careful with my words. Minimal because when it comes to the fiscal policy managers, yes, everybody's forgetting there are different components to it. So we're looking at the legislative component, we're looking at the judiciary, we're looking at the 3 tiers of government. So in all of this, well, at the federal government, angle, the handshake is even an embrace. It's so warm that you can see it. But how do we move it further down to the subnational? Because the spending, the more monies that are now moving to the subnationals should be looked into. We need to be very strategic on making sure that they also at that level, knowing fully well that if we're going to, do a graph or do like, to plot a graph, each and every one of them at the subnational, at the legislative, all of them will fall into the fiscal policy managers. So we need to be able to bring in all of those people to now have a confluence. So we can have a national plan and then have a development plan. So with that development plan, it'll be easier for them to understand what is happening at the monetary policy angle and then work towards, things that will support the fiscal policy management system that will help us grow this economy. We have all it takes, but we just need to be able to have a strategic plan, an intentional plan, towards, a more robust system that will give us what we're looking for.
Indeed. We need that system that will give us what we are looking for. Mr. Ogbonna Okuku is an investment analyst, economic development expert. I must thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend, and we'll have this conversation again to see where our currency, I'm talking about the exchange rate, would be as we continue to implement all of these initiatives moving forward.